Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back. I am the Illusionist, and this is Blood Bowl Chaos Edition. Slight change this week. If you remember my last game, my opponent actually conceded at the end of the first half, so I'm left with quite a short video. So I thought for a change of pace, what I would do, instead of playing a game, is show you some tips and tricks on how to get the best out of your Blood Bowl games. While there is a tutorial mode available in the game for you to try and learn what to do, it's pretty sparse and it doesn't teach you all of the shortcut keys and some of the more interesting things you might like to know about the game. So I'm going to do my best to teach some of them to you here right now. First thing I'm going to show you is in the options menu. What a lot of people don't realise is that you can use the optional skills preset tab to make the game ask you before you use a skill. This doesn't sound particularly useful all the time. For example, why would you not want to use block or get a free reroll with catch? However, there are some skills that you don't always want to be using. For example, Hail Mary pass. What this does is that you effectively can throw the ball as far as you like. However, you always have a penalty to do so. If you don't turn this off or make the game ask you before you use it, you will always do this, even in preference for something like a short pass where you would otherwise get bonuses. So it's a good idea before you start playing, particularly in the multiplayer session, is to scroll down the list, look at the skills and see which ones you don't always want to be using. I'll show you my list. For example, you can see the skills that I like to use sporadically rather than all the time. Hail Mary pass is one. Multiple block is another. So if you're not careful, that can and will create some unfortunate blocking situations for you. More on that later. Pass block, which you don't always want to be pulled out of position by a thrown interception. Piling on, which you don't always want to throw yourself to the floor after you've knocked a guy over. Shadowing, again, you don't always want to be drawn out of position unless you choose to. Stab and stakes, not always comes up, but if you want to throw a block or if you want to stab, it's nice to have the choice. If you turn this off so it doesn't ask, you'll almost always stab, and that can be a pain. And of course, wrestle. Similar to piling on, you might not always want to go down on the floor, particularly if you're carrying the ball. Worth looking through, pick the skills you like, read the descriptions, see which is the most useful to you, and remember which ones you've got on your team, which ones are going to affect you as and when you don't want to use them. Hit save when you're done, and you're back to the options menu. What I'm next going to do is load up a couple of practice games and show you some more tips and tricks, and I'll be back in a minute. Okay guys, welcome back. I quickly started a single player campaign just to show you a few things. The first thing I'm going to do is end my turn, so as I can demonstrate to you the problems with the camera. As you can see, it immediately will go to the automatic camera. What this does is always show the active player on the opposing team. The problem is it doesn't give you a lot of context as to what's actually happening on the rest of the pitch. For example, you struggle to see where this guy's coming from, who stood nearby him, and occasionally it'll freeze altogether. So as I like to do is I hit the escape button, and that turns that off. You will be in the fixed view as you are when it's your turn. You can move it with the mouse or the WASD keys. It generally makes observing the game much simpler, and you can see what's going on much more clearly. What I also like to do when I'm playing is I press the G key on my keyboard, which activates the grid. It will show you not only your opponent's tackle zones, making dodging and blitzing all that much easier, it also shows you the actual pitch itself. So you can count exactly how far you need to move without necessarily having to click every single square. Makes things much easier. What I also tend to do is I press the N key. What this does is cycles through the player info. You can see it brings up on the first press the position of the players you're looking at on both the friendly and the opposing teams. This is quite useful if you've got an idea as to what all the teams are. You can see who's around, and you've got a rough idea of what they're going to do without having to click individually on each one to see their stats. If you press N again, it will show you the character's name. It's a bit of fun if you've named your characters something funny and you like to see them all you can do that. Doesn't really do you much advantage in terms of actual playing though. Press N again, it shows you the character number. This can be particularly useful when you use the page up and page down keys, as you will cycle through your active players up and down by their numerical value. So if you're lazy, you don't want to click, or you don't know who's able to go next, you can do that and you can see where the cursor's going to next. If you press N for a third time, you get these strange numbers. Now, I tried to Google these to find out what they do, and surprisingly, no one seems to know what they are. I came across a number of conversations that say if you press the N key, you will get the player's name, number, position, and etc. So if you don't know what they are, I'll tell you. These are your star player points and your character's level. If I pick my gutter runner here, he is a level 1 gutter runner with no star player points, and he needs 6 to get to his next level, which you can see up at the top. The first number, he has 0 star player points, and he's 5 plus 1 to the actual level to get to the next level. It also says he's level 1, and the plus 0 means he has not got an upgrade pending. He's not going to level up at the end of this match, or if you choose to do so. This isn't particularly useful unless you've got 2 players next to each other with similar sorts of abilities, and you want to know which one would benefit from getting the star player points by performing an action, say a blitz or picking up the ball for a touchdown. Interesting bit of trivia, really obvious when you spot the pattern, but there you go. I leave it on the positions usually. You don't have to, but I find it more useful. So I'll give you an idea what to use with the GUI. The last thing I can show you is not particularly helpful, given that you've got the C button to cycle through the camera to the useful camera views. If you want to take a particular screenshot, or you like review in particular, click and hold down your mouse wheel and you can swing the camera freely. That will stay as it is until you press C to flick back again. That's all you need to know about the GUI for now. I'll see you back in a minute and I'll start talking skills and keys. Okay guys, welcome back again. I've quickly started up a hot seat game against 2 of my own teams, goblins and vampires, so I can quickly show you a couple of the more unusual skills available in the game and how to use them. The first thing I want to show you is the multiple block skill. I've got it on my vampire guy over here. What this does is, when you throw a block, and only a block, you can attack 2 players who are stood nearby you. Normal rules apply, so you'll have to worry about things like assists, and people being in tackle zones giving your opponents boosts and so on, but otherwise it's a normal block against 2 players. It's not all good. When you're attacking a guy with multiple block, both players you attack will get a bonus to their strength of 2. So if I attack these 2 goblins here, they'll become strength 4 for the duration of the block. Now my vampire's got strength 5, so that's not a big problem. But if I'm attacking a normal strength character, such as this thrall at strength 3, he will also become strength 5, which is a problem, because the vampire only get 1 dice. If he attacks anything stronger, like black orcs or trolls, they are even stronger. They will still get the +2 bonus, so the vampire is at risk of becoming at a deficit. Worth bearing in mind, but it can lead to potentially big benefits. For example, if I attack this goblin here, because the game has been set to recognise multiple block as a permission skill, it will ask, do you want to use it on more than one opponent? Choose yes. So I attack him. I get a set of dice for each person I play, so I could potentially roll different results. In this case, we'll just do that, and he moves out the way. It then asks me to choose, do I want to use a second block? The answer is yes. It'll automatically pick the player nearby. In this case there's only 2 in contact. If there is more than that, you get to pick the 2 you want to attack. In this case, my vampire is going to go down anyway. That's why we have rerolls. That's fine. Oh, he still goes down. Never mind. So, the disadvantages of the multiple block skill. Your opponents get stronger. You still have to counter things like assists. And because you roll separately, you could waste the block by getting knocked down and even hurt like this guy was. Bearing in mind though, because it can be a real big advantage when it works. Next up, I'm going to show you some of the goblin tricks. Okay guys, the next thing I'm going to show you is how to use the leap skill. What this does, it effectively means you can jump over another player. Seems fairly straightforward. The benefits of this is that if you're in something like a strong line here, you don't have to run all the way along the outside. And it also means that you're only dodging once. So you're jumping from this square here to this square here, instead of having to dodge this square and then dodge this one, and then out again. Bearing in mind, it is still an agility check to land safely, so if it goes wrong, you will land on your face on the other side, and you'll turn over. Sometimes that could be worth doing, sometimes not. To perform a leap, what you do is select the character with the skill, in this case my pogoer, and press the L key on your keyboard. It will ask, where do I want to leap to? Simply click on the skill you want, click again, and you make the jump. So I've gone straight over this guy. It was only one agility roll rather than two, and it saves an awful lot of aggro all around, so I can just now run straight away if I want to. That's all there is for jump. Just remember that landing in tackle zones of more than one player can cause even bigger problems, and remember it actually costs you movement to do that. So it's not a free one square, one move jump. That's it for the leap skill. Next up, I'm going to show you how fanatics work. Okay guys, the next thing I want to show you is how the Goblin Fanatic works. The Goblin Fanatic is a weird little creature who doesn't attack, move or block in the normal way. What you do is he only has 3 movements, which seems pitiful, but then you remember what that means is he actually has 3 attacks. Every time you tell a Goblin Fanatic to move, either up, down, left or right, the game will randomly generate 1, 2 or 3 to move into. So I move forward towards this vampire, the game will randomly select whether he walks into the thrall, the vampire or the other thrall. And when he does, he will automatically throw a block against whatever he hits with his pretty cool strength of 7. So this time he hits the thrall. We can knock him down as usual. And that was only 1 square he moved. I can do that 2 more times, and each time I walk into an opposing player, I get to throw a block. See, this time it randomly generated that I went left instead of straight ahead. Nothing happened. Next turn. And he moved back again. Great. So, random dice every single time decides where you're going to go. Remember, if you walk into someone who's lying on the floor, you automatically hit them and force an armor roll. So, if you see a big mob of your opposing players, run into them with a Fanatic and keep going till you knock them all down. It's 3 free attacks, just try not to fall over while you're doing it. Next up, Bombardiers. Okay guys, so at this point the Goblin team is in real trouble. The Vampire has hold of the ball and he's surrounded in a small cage of thralls. It's going to be really hard to get the ball off of him. However, it would be even harder if we didn't have the Bombardier character. Bombardiers have a secret ability where they can throw a bomb into a small crowd or on the floor and potentially do damage to everyone nearby. What happens is everyone in the tackle zone of where the ball lands, so if it lands here, everyone in the squares around it has to make a dice roll. On a 4 or more, they're knocked over and have to take an armor roll, so you can potentially injure up to 9 players at the same time. It's random, it might not work, but it's worth trying, and you can do this every turn until the Bombardier is sent off at the end of the drive. How it works is you do not move at the start of your turn, this is really important, and you select the bomb icon in the bottom right hand screen here. This is normally where the throw the ball icon is if you have a ball in your hands. On the Bombardier it's this one instead. Give it a click and it shows you the normal throwing arrow and where the ball's going to land. Normal throwing penalties apply, so the closer you throw it, the easier it's going to be. So you pick your target, and note the blue circles. These are intercept circles. If I throw the ball here, there is the chance that the players will catch the ball and be able to throw it back. Of course, if the ball lands here, I stand a chance of taking out all 4 players. Once I play it safe, I can drop it here, on the ground, where no one can catch it. There's no extra penalties for this. But as I said, I hit less players. Let's give it a try. So I right click, My opponent gets to choose an intercept if he can. They're only thralls, let's give it a go. So, we threw the bomb and the vampire caught it, even though he's already got the ball in one hand. So now, the vampire can throw it back with spectacular results. Fortunately, that wasn't too much of a problem. The only person who got hurt was his own thrall. All it did was knock him down. But if we skip the turn, the bombardier can try that again. Assuming, of course, the vampire hasn't moved anywhere. That's all there is to it. That takes up the bombardier's entire turn. He's not moved, and this time the bomb was caught and thrown back, but next time the vampires might not be so lucky. What I'll show you now is how to use the Induced Wizard. As we hadn't noticed, the vampires have a significantly higher value than the goblins. Now how this works is, at the start of your opponent's turn, if you have the wizard, so when you end your turn, you get the 15-second countdown timer. You have to use your wizard in this turn. And how you do that is you click the icon on the top right. The scroll gives you the choice between the fireball, which works like a bomb and hits everyone nearby, or the lightning bolt, which hits just a single target. Haha. Note you have only 15 seconds to choose your spell and use it, so I had to rush there. What the lightning bolt does is it will hit a single target, and on a 2+ it will knock them down, and when they're knocked down they take an armor roll to try and avoid damage. If you use the fireball, it works like a bomb, hits everyone in the square and the square around it, so a whole tackle zone, but they're only hurt on a 4 or more. So you need to decide if you're going to try and knock down an entire cage or just zap the single ball carrier like I just did. So, there's some Blood Bowl secrets for you and a few ideas on how to use some of the more unusual special skills. Thank you for watching, have a great day, bye bye.